All right, Nick, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. Actually, so much to talk about the Bears because they made so many moves this free agency period. And I don't think we're the only one that noticed. Other players from around the league, other players from rival teams have noticed, and they're kind of incredulous of how the Bears have done this free agency period. I think overall they've done a really fantastic job. We'll dive into that in just a second. But before we do, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. And Nick, as I alluded to, other players from rival teams even talking about the Bears, what they've got going on this free agency period, and they don't know how they do it. It's actually been insane for what they've been able to do. Let's get into the article and we talk more about it on the other side. This from NBC Sports and says, in the latest episode of the St. Brown podcast, Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions reacted to Chicago's efforts to close the gap under new head coach and former Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. He says, I feel like the Bears have unlimited money. Amon-Ra St. Brown told his brother Equiminius, this is crazy. They're just signing new stuff for like $40, $50 million. Joe Thuney, boom. Jonah Jackson, bang. Drew Dahlman, bang. Deo Odebingo, another one I saw, a crazy amount of money. Grady Jarrett, bang. They're just breaking everybody off. They have unlimited money. What the heck is this? Ben's just making moves left and right. Whether it makes a difference remains to be seen, but the Bears are trying to build a team around potential franchise quarterback Caleb Williams. I think potential. I think he is the franchise quarterback right now. Potential is an interesting choice of words. But Nick, I think the theme goes, the Bears are using this, rookie quarterback deal to their advantage, and they're absolutely making a stacked team. They're doing exactly what they need to do. Curious what your thoughts are on this one. But before we get to you, Nick, Bears fans, in the comment section below, it's going to be kind of difficult because there are so many people brought onto this team. But what's your favorite new addition on this team? Or if you want to go a different route, who do you think makes the biggest impact out of these players to this Bears team? Let us know your thoughts on favorite player or biggest impact player brought in to the Bears through this free agency period already in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest out of Chicago?
Yeah, so Ryan Poles and the Bears, of course, have had multiple off seasons where they made a lot of big moves. Probably the most famous is the trade out of the #1 pick, getting DJ Moore and a lot of the Carolina Panthers draft capital. But so far, this free agency period, what they've done is they've actually gone out just a lot of really, really good players, generally speaking, at positions of need, and they've used their cap dollars extremely intelligently. They've spent a lot of money, but they still have over $20 million in cap space remaining. Let's go over who they required real quick. If you just talk about the top line guys, and this is courtesy of Perplexity AI, my favorite AI. They don't sponsor us or anything. I just like using it. But anyway, if it goes down the list here of what the Chicago Bears, who they've acquired. Joe Thuney, one of the best guards, maybe the best guard available, championship caliber player, obviously, leader, great locker room guy. Jonah Jackson, a little bit overrated, in my opinion. Some people are very high on him, but a very experienced guard who knows the offense. How about Drew Dahlman, the best center available? So far, out of the three guys available, the Bears have gotten the two best guys at that position, talking Thuney and Dahlman. Number Odeimbo, he's a good player from the Colts, kind of slid under the radar a little bit. He wasn't the best defensive end available, but he's a very good one. It was a good pickup there. And of course, Grady Jarrett, who is certainly the most accomplished interior defensive lineman that was available. He's had a phenomenal career. He will do great things with the Bears. And then we got two backups there to kind of round out the list, courtesy once again of Perplexity AI, my favorite AI application to use. So what we're seeing here from the Bears is not them like we've kind of seen in years past, just kind of just spending money and overspending because it's dollars to spend. They're getting elite players or very good, accomplished players with good resumes who are well respected across the NFL. And that's why people like Amon-Ra St. Brown are just in shock right now. Every offseason, there are teams that have a lot of cap space that just throw money. The Jacksonville Jaguars did this a few years ago. They made a lot of big moves when Trevor Lawrence was going into his second season, and they got a lot of good, okay, decent players, but they overspent huge. They paid like basically top dollar for second and third tier players. That's normally what happens. The Patriots are doing it this offseason is a great example. The Bears are paying top dollar for top dollar high value players, and I think that's what's kind of setting the league on notice. We don't see teams very often to get the best of multiple positions in a single free agency class. It's very rare, actually, because most teams, A, don't have the cap space, or B, just don't have the recruiting ability to bring in that kind of talent. The Bears have had both these things this offseason. They've executed at a high level. I'm going to be honest. I thought Ben Johnson's effect would not be really felt until we started to see things on the football field and seeing some new strategies and X's and O's and the concepts he did so well with the Detroit Lions. But I think this is the Ben Johnson effect coming through here. A lot of people want to play for this exciting Bears offense. They saw what the Lions look like the past couple of years. The Bears obviously had some talent, and a lot of these free agents want to go there. And all the Bears had to do was just give them market value, and they got a lot of really talented guys looking to win now, some young, some middle of their career, some older, I should say, across the board, a lot of elite level talent. They spent the money, they did it very smartly. And look, this is why Amon-Ra St. Brown is being so like, what the heck is going on? We have seen a seismic shift in the balance of power, not just in the NFC West, but the entire NFC. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. Of course, it's going to be a big year for Caleb Williams. We all understand that. But it looks like the talent level, the talent gap between Chicago and the top players in the NFC may have just been completely evaporated.
Yeah, Nick, and I think when you talk about Williams, you talk about what he's got. I mean, immediately the first change you see for him, the picture in front of him every down is completely different. The interior of this offensive line, I think the offensive line as a whole, I'd say if they play to where they should be, this is a top 10 offensive line in the league easily with the players that they have on it. I mean, it really fantastic. Darnell Wright's a young guy who played really well last year that we were very high on. Then again, Braxton Jones has done really well going into his fourth year for the Bears as well. And then obviously the guys they picked up, Tooney, fantastic guard. Dahlman, probably the best center available. And then Jackson, I think he's serviceable. I think he's a good player, maybe a little bit overpaid, but I think he's good. So first of all, they solved their biggest issue. Caleb Williams not having enough, protection, getting sacked too much pressure on the quarterback. They do that. Then they focus on the other thing. Everyone says throughout the comments, I've seen on all of our videos, what do the Bears need? What's the next thing that Ben Johnson needs to do for this Bears team? People be like, well, we need someone beside Montez Sweat. We need a good guy, running mate for Montez Sweat to really help him get going. Well, they got two guys for him. They got Grady Jarrett and they got Odeyingbo. So check that box. Another win in the column for the Bears. And then even like you said, the auxiliary guys, the backups, the positional players that they got. I think Olamide Zaccheaus, he's a great player because in the limited snaps, the limited passes he gets, he's very effective, especially at first downs. I think last season he got over 26 first downs in all of the catches that he got. He's a guy, he's effective at moving the chains, getting the ball down the field, really good at what he does. Then we look at Smythe, he's a great run blocker. So as a guy you can bring in and really when you want to put in the beef, get the big packages out on the field, I think Smythe brings a lot of the tape to the table as a really great run blocking tight end. So I think Ben Johnson, he's done a great job assembling this team. Poles made a lot of great moves together so far. I know we say, all right, Poles on the hot seat this year. He really need to have a good one. But this has been better than anything I've seen him do before. I think they really had a concerted effort. It wasn't just like a one guy here, one guy there. Oh, we got one really good guy. We're really excited about what we got going on down here in Chicago. No, they took the full effect. They used everything to their advantage. They used the rookie deal on the quarterback. They used the cap space very wisely. They didn't go out and, like you say, blow a ton of money on second tier players. They paid people what they were worth. If you were good, you got paid. If you were mediocre, you got medium pay. If you're bad, you got backup pay. They didn't go out and overpay a ton of people. And like you said, they still got like $20 million in cap space left. So we're seeing a completely different Bears team. We're seeing Ben Johnson's picture come together. Will it be effective in the NFL? I'm pretty sure it will be. We have to see a play hit the field, but so far, things look really great for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and it's important to understand here when you look at the two most talented teams in the NFC, the way it currently sits on paper, right? So, a big grain of salt there. It's the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. And both the Eagles and the Lions spent years through trades and draft picks and free agency building their offensive and defensive lines. Like it was a multi year process. And it looks like the Bears have essentially step functioned up to their level in about 10 days. And that's going to send a shockwave to Holmes over in Detroit and Roseman over in Philly, where it's like, listen, we spent 3 years refining, figuring out who the players on our defensive line that we want to be, who's our O line going to be built around, great draft picks, great trades. In about a span of a week and a half, the Bears have come out and gotten up to your level, at least on paper. And that's got to be a powerful message. And they got to take a step back. And again, that's why Amon-Ra St. Brown is so like whoa, how they do this? Like this, it took us talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown here in his shoes. It took us, the Lions, years to get to this level. The Bears already had some good pieces, but in a span of a couple of days, they're right on our level immediately. That's absolutely bonkers. And again, credit to Ryan Poles. You've been a great point. He's on the hot seat a little bit, but he's gone out and done a great job. But it's not just the moves he's made that's important, it's the time horizon of the deals. You'll notice that all of these deals are ending 3 years from now or fewer after the 2027 season. Who else's contract is up after the 2027 season? Caleb Williams. So the Bears are setting up all their deals to be during this Caleb Williams rookie contract run. They know, like all teams do with young quarterbacks, that once you sign them to their mega deal, there's going to be a transition period, and they're already preparing for it, which is the smart approach to take. There are some teams looking at you, Cincinnati Bengals, that are very slow to prepare for it, right? And they're slow to pay their star quarterback, star receivers, and they end up losing a lot of their talented guys like the Bengals have, and it looks like they're continuing to do so. The Bears under Ryan Poles, and I'm sure Johnson has a role in this as well, are preparing ahead of time. They are structuring all of these key players' deals to expire by the end of Caleb Williams' deal or before. This is again smart roster management, smart decision making. If they had made these deals exceptionally longer, then they would have been in a tough position come 2027 because you're trying to pay Caleb Williams, but you got a lot of dollars already on the books. Instead, when it's time to look at Caleb Williams and structure his big deal whenever it comes and to figure out how to build the team around him, they'll have the cap flexibility once again to do so. So it's not only a great job by the Bears here going out and getting great players to immediately upgrade their offensive and defensive line and doing it in a way that didn't break the bank. I know they spent a lot of money, but if you look at those deals, they're all reasonable in the margin of fair market value, right? It's not like they spent 20, 30, 40% of what other players were going for roughly of the same caliber. In some ways, I think looking at Tuna here, they got a little bit of a discount in a lot of factors. So I think the Bears did a phenomenal job here, and I think they're set up wonderfully going forward. This is a great job by Poles, Johnson, the entire front office. But I will throw a question over to you, Mines, to kind of circle the wagons here. If you're the Bears right now, what's your next move? Do you lay low, wait to the draft? Are you trying to see if there's a veteran that's cheap and available, right? What's the Bears' next approach here as we get ready for kind of the second half of the offseason?
Well, I got a two-part answer to this one. I've been thinking about it. I kind of had an idea you might ask me this question. So I'm thinking about who they could use. I think they're pretty set at a lot of different positions, but in particular, two things that come to mind. And one is kind of a want and one is kind of a need. So I think they could use another linebacker. I think Noah Sewell had a really bad year last year, had a really good year in 2023. I mean, do you want to gamble? Do you want to risk it? If you think this is your window now to go out and win a championship, you got the right coach, right quarterback, right team. I think they could use another linebacker. Doesn't have to be anybody great. I think they can got by with a serviceable guy, get some more depth, be able to rotate guys in and out. I think that's an option that might be a need for them. As far as want, I think this is a Bears team that can maybe use one more big play threat. I know whether it's a home run hitter at running back, which I think they have two strong running backs in Swift and Roshan Johnson. Do they get a more versatile, more athletic type of tight end who can maybe be a weapon for them? Do they get a receiver that maybe is under the radar and not necessarily your every down type of guy, but is there a big play threat? Is there just like a really fast guy out there that you think can open up the field? I think that could be something that helps out this offense as well a lot. That's more of a want, less of a need. So I think those are the two options that come to mind for me as far as players that this Bear team can really utilize.
Yeah, and just my opinion on this. I think some people may agree, some people may disagree. I think they're going number 10 overall. I believe that's where they pick. Yeah, number 10, Ashton Gianti, the running back from Boise State, if he falls that far. And I know they already have two good running backs, like you mentioned, but if you look at the model the Bears are trying to emulate, right? It's the Lions model that obviously they had Montgomery, a good stable of running backs. They had Williams. What they do, they went out and drafted Jameer Gibbs, worked out well for them. The Eagles model, right? They had a good stable of running backs. They were doing good by committee. What did the Eagles do? They went out and aggressively attacked Saquon Barkley. The Bears are trying to follow both those teams' model. That's what they've been doing this entire offseason. I think it makes sense then they go after and get the next star running back, so it seems, in the draft and Ashton Gianti and kind of complete that process. And this is where it's so incredible from what the Bears have done here. And again, I go back to why Amon-Ra St. Brown is so just shocked. Because if the Bears get Gianti, which I think they will, then we will go through an offseason, basically a 6-week period, where the Bears went from a terrible team, a double-digit loss team, to where on paper their talent is very, very similar, same ballpark as the Super Bowl champion. and the number 1 overall seed this past season. That is incredible stuff. Poles deserves a lot of credit. I think the Ben Johnson effect is certainly occurring right now in Chicago, and there's a lot of reason to be optimistic in the Windy City.